foundation of the middle class. And, yeah, you know.
Like they don't want to start all over. Life is good, what they are.
Yeah, we lost teachers. We lost we lost so many.
But we didn't have to lose teachers.
What's that?
We didn't have to lose teachers.
Yes, we did. We didn't have enough power. Welcome to Health Issues. I'm your host, Chris Sylvain, and as you can see, I'm thoroughly excited today. We have a wonderful show for you today, dealing with a very, very important issue, the African American male. And there is a summit coming up, and no matter when you're going to be watching the program, it's just something to be attentive of what's going on. We have two great guests from the mighty Dillard University. We have two great guests. We have Mr. Robert Mitchell, who is the Registrar and one of those that are spearheading Summit on the African American Male at Dillard University. He's over the advisor to the 100 Black Men of Dillard, the Collegiate 100 Black Men, and doing a great job over there. And we also have a professor of social work, Dr. Steve Buddington. Welcome, Dr. Buddington, professor of social work at Dillard University by way of the West Indies.
Absolutely.
All righty. So we're definitely excited to have you both. And first off, Mr. Mitchell, tell us a little bit about this particular summit that you guys have put together.
Well, this summit that we're having is pretty much to educate our young black men of their rights, and also to make them aware of that the individuals such as police officers, the mayor, myself, Dr. Buddington, we're still human beings without actually having our titles. And so give them an opportunity to have a conversation with the interim chief of police, also Mitch Mayor Landrew is going to be there. Our professor, Dr. Robert Collins, is going to be there. Just give them an opportunity. Judge Willard is also going to be there. Opportunity to have a conversation with these individuals and say, hey, what if this happened? How should I react? And educate them with certain things such as what is probable cause? You know, how do I react when someone approached me doing this or doing that? So we feel that if we educate our young men at this young age, we would then build a seed or plant a seed so that as they matriculate through high school and college, they would know how to handle themselves in certain situations.
St. Augustine is a part of it too.
Absolutely. The Purple Knights.
Interesting,
yes, sir.
Good. So, I mean, have come together. So, St. Augustine, Dillard's come together.
Yes, St. Augustine we're going to have everyone, all the young men from St. Augustine. I believe there's about maybe 400 of those young brothers going to be in Den Hall. Monday, October 13th at 9 o'clock. And we're going to also have some of our Dillard students going to be partaking in that event with us. Also, we're going to have other schools. We have invited other schools to come, and so we want everyone, if you are available, October 13th at 9 o'clock to 11 to come visit us at Den Hall and enjoy the conversation.
Mainly for African American males.
Absolutely, correct.
All right. So the show will be going on. And Dr. Buddington, particularly from as a social worker involved in the community, like, what sense does it make to do it? Why do it?
It's very salient. It's very important, because our nation depends on African American males as part of the broader economy. Our young brothers need to be educated, need to become leaders, parents, pastors, engineers. So we have to work as hard as we can, as long as we can, to save this population. We have to. It's imperative for the greater good of the nation. It's not just a New Orleans issue, it's a nationwide issue.
Okay, but suppose somebody says, no, we don't need black men.
Well, we need black men.
Why?
And black men is the essence of our nation, of our essence of creation. We need black men to bolster our economy, to marry our daughters, to run our industry.
But I mean, I'm just saying, looking at it in community, as social worker, society at large, there is a segment that says that, okay, you've lost your youthfulness, we don't need you to be employed. In fact, let's look at the statistics. Let's look at what's going on. We don't need you to be employed. We don't need you to be a part of the workforce in any large numbers. I mean, we've always had free blacks, so I mean, you can always have 10%, 20% is going to do something. But a large part of the population is underemployed, unemployed. I think over 50% are unemployed. And so when you add the underemployed, I'm sure we're looking at 70–80%. So the community at large is basically saying, hey, we don't need you to work, so don't get excited about the workforce. We can bring in other folk or do whatever we need to do as far as for working. The economy doesn't necessarily need you in a work economy, so the schools, hey, HBCUs themselves have very few African American males in the school. We were just talking about it. Dillard has a quarter. I think Xavier might have a quarter. You know, I don't know what Suno has or whatever. But for the most part, we don't see in any major institutions a large percentage of African American males. And so I'm just, you know, hey, kind of looking at it that way. So if there's a need for the African American males, what institution other than the criminal justice system is requesting their participation?
I think most high schools are Head Start programs, high school, colleges. We're seeking them, but there's some kind of barriers to them, to the aspirations of these young men, and I think there's some racial overtones when it comes to preventing African American young men from achieving their greatness. There's definitely some racial overtones, and it depends on who's saying we don't need African American men. Which population is saying that? I don't think blacks are saying that.
Well, I would question that. I think that's something that can be said. The workforce, again, employers in general, I would think that what we're hearing in the workforce is that I'd hire anybody but a black male. I don't want a black male working. They're going to be lazy. They're not going to come to work. Hey, give me the Hispanic guy. No, wait, give me the Asian guy. Give me a white guy. Anybody. Now, there's a book, a guy named Streckney out in, I think, California wrote it, Racial Realism, where his whole concept was, sure, we have the Civil Rights Act, the Equal Rights Act, and whatever act, some type of act or whatever it is, but in reality, employers are saying, I pass on that.
I think it goes back to historical stereotyping from slavery, from whence we came. The black man is lazy, don't aspire for greatness. It goes back to historical stereotyping African American man and male. And so we have to find a way to change that perception among ourselves first and foremost. Secondarily, who owns the industries who are doing hiring? The majority culture. So that's a major issue again. Are we as African American owning major industries to create our own change? So that's if we have to also explore that from that perspective also.
The net worth in the African American community is about $3. The Caucasian community, I think it's like over 50 grand per family. We're broke.
On the contrary, the spending varies though. There's a difference there in spending, net worth and spending. Or net worth is $3 because we spend most of what we earn. So that's the dichotomy there we have to look at.
You're over the Collegiate, Mr. Mitchell, 100 black men, Collegiate. So what are you doing what are you telling them to help turn this situation?
Well, one of the things that we do is that we try to put on certain forums, such as financial literacy, to talk about the importance of saving your money or how to spend your money. We also talk about health and wellness, economic development, education, and mentoring. So giving back to the community, doing certain things, certain community service events to assist with the changing of how one will say the black mind thinks. Okay. Just because how things was back in the day, that doesn't mean that's how they are now. Education is very, very important. So you mentioned earlier about people say, well, we don't need the black man. But if we educate the black man and make sure that that man is the best person for that job, it's going to be hard to turn away that black man, because he's the best person for the job. So we make sure that we're focused on graduating our young black men. See, students want to be a part of something. They want to feel like they belong, a part of something, and we give them that opportunity with the Collegiate 100 at Dillard University.
Well, then, so the problem then is with what part does a black male not get? In other words, slavery's been going 150 years, 130 years or whatever, and segregation is ended supposedly back in the 70s or whatever. So how long do we need to keep doing 100 black men programs before the black male gets it?
I wouldn't put a timetable on it, because we're having conversation about the black male instead of having a conversation about the man himself. So we have to train or coach our young men. Yes, you are an African American, that's your race, but you're still a man. You're still a human being. Educate yourself and stop using that as an excuse that, oh, because I'm black, I can't do this. Educate yourself. Give yourself a bone in the fight. Because if we keep saying that, oh, it's because I'm black, I can't do something, then we lost the fight before we begin to get in the ring.
No, but the question is, and definitely Dr. Buddington also, in other words, I mean, we can do social programs, educational summits. We can do 2,000 of them a year. We're already 40 years past segregation. You know what I mean? And I don't seem to be any. The net worth needle hadn't moved. The educational ACT scores hadn't moved. You know what I mean? It's like the health scores hadn't moved. There's not one part of that needle since 1968 to 2014 that's done any movement in comparison to the larger body. Wherever we move, the larger body has moved further. Childhood immunization, not immunizations, but let's say infant death rates. I mean, every measure we want to pick. If we went up 3 points, everybody else went up 5 points.
And so you're talking about intangibles and tangibles. We tend to address something we can touch and feel. The programs are the touch and feel stuff.
Okay.
The intangible is the inner person.
Okay.
At what age do we touch the inner man, inner black man? Just so we got to realize we got to do something different about ourselves first and foremost. Programs touch the outer person, the intangibles. So we got to reach the intangible man, the untouched man, intrinsic person, and that's where the transformation has to take place. So all these impacting forces in social, which we call it PI, person in environment, impacting this family. So how do we change, look at the family emotionally, psychologically, cognitively? So we have to make a cognitive change and therefore a social learning behavioral change to better our economy and ourselves. So that's the piece we have to work hard. We can put programs in place, but if we don't change how we perceive these programs and the long-term benefits of these programs, then we're going to remain constant.
So how do we hit to the inner man?
We go back to catch them early. Proactively go back maybe to Head Start and bring what I see as the major issue with this country. Our teachers are paid the minimum, so a very small salary, and they are the biggest change agent. Education is the greatest equalizer in this country. Out of depression, what saved us out of depression was the education system and housing. And so we need to go back to the Head Start program and get our brightest and best to work with our students there. The low-income family or the family who have the access to quality education. But once you have the desire to exceed intrinsically, and nothing can stop you but yourself.
So there's something that's going to happen in the Head Start program that's going to intrinsically. So what goes on in Head Start that's going to intrinsically, deep on the inner side of this man, that's going to carry him through to 21.
What do you mean? What should be happening in Head Start?
Which should be happening.
It is about personal aspirations and transformation from young age. So you have to inspire these young male and female, young men to say, I can achieve greatness. I have a vision of greatness. And so you have to bring the brightest and best in to demonstrate or to model behavior of greatness from that age.
Now, this is a theory, or has it ever happened yet?
Not happening. Because look at where we are in terms of black males.
So it's never. But can it ever? I mean, is it a theory that actually can ever be worked out, or is it just a pipe dream?
I think it can happen. We just have to.
I mean, when are we going to get the brightest? Where are we going to get the brightest and best? Because my understanding, I would think Head Start teachers making kind of a tad under $100,000 a year.
Exactly.
All right, and they don't have a lot of them, and I would doubt that you have too many males that are Head Start teachers.
Absolutely.
All right, so. Help me out. Where are these people going to come from? I mean, I'm just asking.
Well,
I'm not trying to be
I know we have to create policy initiatives that funnel funding into those directions.
Who's going to pay for it?
Middle class going to pay for it.
Taxpayers.
Tax going to pay for it.
I'm glad they got the cash.
We pay for that.
All right. We don't have a job.
We're going to pay for that.
Network.
It's about commitment and will from our leaders and politicians and education leaders to make that happen.
So we're going to make them the leadership.
We can encourage them. I know we
encourage them.
Who we elect to office and so forth.
What you say, Mr. Mitchell?
I So it goes back, once again, I stay on education. It's about, it goes back to voting too. We have to educate our people about getting out there and vote. I think there was a statistic that came out was under 30% voted for the last election that we had for the mayoral election, something like that, some crazy stat. But we fought for the right to vote. We talk about history. To vote for the right candidate, whomever the right candidate may be.
Whichever corporation supplied the most money. The most money.
One can say that, but I mean that's one's opinion. I tend to do research on whomever I want to vote for, but we have to, once again, we have to put certain things out there to say, hey, these are the things that this person is going to fight for you for. This is how it's going to help you in your community. Some people may say that the presidential election is the most important election. Some people may say certain elections there are other elections that are very important more than the presidential election. We have to focus on local government, then focus on state, then the national government, and I think we haven't done that when it comes to voting. Because talking about policy, what Dr. Buddington is talking about is changing certain policies. Those policies cannot change unless we have the right elected officials in those seats to change those policies.
You know any?
Me? No. I won't come out and say anything that's.
You running for office?
No, sir. No, sir. My father said I should, but I told him no, I won't.
I mean, all right, okay. Let's flip it around.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it the only thing going on with the black male? Is there anything else? Because to be honest with you, if this is all it is, and it hadn't happened in 40 years, and I will veil to say I don't know if Head Start's going to do that much to be responsible for turning around a whole populace. We might be here in the same place 100 years from now.
But we're at the point where we have to do something. We have to look at where we are in terms of can we save this generation? I don't have an answer for that. I really don't. If we can, what are we going to do to save them? What are we going to do? We can talk and have meetings and debates.
Yeah,
but what are we going to do to save this population? And so you look at those who make it and those who don't. A young man who makes it and one who doesn't. There got to be some kind of differences, structural differences, social differences, economic differences.
Could it be like a house Negro, well, I don't know, house African American, field African American, where the house African American, there's always been free blacks. I mean, you know, back in slavery you had free blacks. I mean, you had free blacks during segregation. You know, everybody get to live in the big house. I mean, some folk get to live in the big house, and I mean, has the percentages changed? You know, if we go back historically, we always had a few folk who thought they were better than everybody else and not willing to reach back and help anybody. And, you know, you always had the 80-20 rule.
But again, how do you help? There got to be a methodology to help. There got to be a systematic way to help. I said we can debate, but we have a way to help. And I find that the undergirding issue is poverty. Poverty creates a lot of secondary issues and tertiary issues.
Yeah, but if we don't have the money to affect policy, as far as I know, money drives politics.
In certain economies, lobbyist groups, certain economies, but a grassroots economy can the initiative to elect who they want to elect.
Okay, so let's say a grassroots movement to do what? Will be the focus. The grassroots, get the people, get them fired up.
Education is the next civil rights issue we have to deal with. That's what we got to deal with. Education is the next civil rights issue we got to deal with as African American. Okay. That's the thing we have to deal with. So that's what we have to attack feverishly.
Education.
And I'll also say certain programs to help those parents to understand that education just doesn't stop at when they leave school. To reinforce what was taught to their kids while they were in school. Technology was the greatest thing that ever happened to us, but also can be the worst thing that ever happened to us. It affected our critical thinking skills. It affected our kids such as with the health and wellness piece. You know, our kids would rather stay inside and play on the computer than go outside and run around.
So, wow, wait, hold on. You're saying that the education and the parents educating the children as opposed to the role of the school. Can the school even do anything without the parents helping out?
No, what I said was to reinforce, not to reinforce what they'd done. For example, when I was in school, I went to school, my mom and dad said, hey son, what happened in school? Okay, what's going on in your homework? Let me work with your homework, help you with your homework, or look over your homework with you. So we got to ask ourselves a question, is that happening now at home? Are the parents involved with the PTA? Are they asking the parents to be involved in the PTA? What are they using? What techniques are they using to say, hey, mom and dad, let's get involved? Or if dad is not there, hey, mom, let's get involved, vice versa. So what are we doing to make sure that our parents are involved? Such as, what are we doing to help with our parents for first-time college goers? Those students are going to college for the very first time. Their parents may not know anything about a college application because they didn't go to college. They may not know anything about financial aid because they never had to fill out that application. So what are we doing? What programs that we have in place to help those parents who don't have those answers?
What do you say to the people who are saying, y'all need to quit crying and begging everybody else for help, and you need to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps and get it together and quit and just cut all that out and just go to work? And if not, just go to jail and shut up.
No, I don't think we're crying.
No.
I don't call it crying. I call it we're looking for support and assistance, and deservedly support and assistance. And it dates back to oppression or racial domination. It goes back to there's some kind of conscience issue here with the majority culture. So we're looking for assistance from the majority culture to have increase the diverse economy. Diversity create a better economy.
But they don't. But if the majority of culture is saying we care less about your diversity, we don't need your diversity, you know what I mean? Then what do we say?
I don't think a broad brush perception. I don't think all majority are saying that. I think there's many.
I think they're voting with their feet.
They vote with their feet.
ain't nobody begging folk to come to work. They voting with their feet. They say, you know what I mean? On paper, it can look one way, but the reality of it, they're like, cool, you can jump up and down all you want, you're still not going to get a job.
The greatest demand now in the economy is STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And the visa they're issuing is for immigrants coming over.
Yeah, but we're not graduating from high school.
Exactly. So therefore it goes back to
16 on the ACT.
So it goes back to the undergird is education.
All right, let's flip it around.
Yeah.
All right, I don't mean to be mean.
No.
Okay, let's check this out though. All right, the criminal justice system. We've been incarcerated at a huge rate. All right, locked up, chained. The new Jim Crow. What effect you think that may have on anything?
It's a large effect because they're spending more time trying to build brand new, beautiful jails that they have instead of spending more time in investing that money into education. So it's a large effect. I think that we have to, once again, it starts at home, man. It really does, because if you teach your child that you have other options besides breaking the law, and you show them the greater things in life, that you can have this if you do X and Y, Z, then they won't have to really go to jail.
Okay. Dr. Buddington.
Incarceration, historically, if you remove the man from a family, it destroys the family, destroys the community, destroys the neighborhood.
All right.
Okay, and if you observe what's happening nationwide, blacks live in homogeneous areas. So remove all the men from those areas, real estate price go down, different type of business moving, like Dollar General stores. There's an indication of poverty. Okay, check cashing places, indication of poverty, and the vast majority of African Americans live in those neighborhoods. And so if you remove that man from the neighborhood, from the community, it destroys the family, destroys the aspiration of the child many times. For the leadership is removed.
There was a theory that if we stop removing the men unjustly out of the community, then the community can start healing itself. What you think about that?
Ridiculous. Absolutely not.
I mean, if you, in other words, instead of removing the men from the community, you leave the men in the community where they can grow and develop. Okay, then the community would start healing.
If you stop removing the men. Okay, I thought you said remove the men.
No, right.
I think it's ideal if you can treat the men. If you can resolve the issue within the context of the family. I think that's more uplifting. That's more uplifting.
So it is said that the men are being removed not because of the crimes they commit, but because of the color of their skin. That the same crimes that they're committing in the other community, but only the black man is being arrested, and the black man is being sentenced at a higher rate statistically. So therefore, it's not because of the crimes that they're committing. The same 40% smoke weed, do this, do that, smoke it, sell it, and package it, and burn it. I
think it's about they're treated differently because of skin color. That's my perception, my personal opinion. Black men are treated different because of skin color. And we're going to remain black who we are. So somehow, if we can train people to see color, we think about this society as a colorless society, which I think is impossible. We're always going to be perceived, color is always going to be present. The perception of blackness is always going to be present. No matter how we may think of a colorblind society, that's almost impossible to think. So I think it's about treatment based on skin color.
All right. If that be the case, how will the people rise up to change that particular system?
I would think that it would go to trying not to break the law. We know that we may be treated unjust. We know that justice is supposed to be blind, but when it comes to African Americans, sometimes it's not.
So we need to accept our chains.
Well, no, we need to follow the laws of the land, and if we don't like the laws of the land, then we need to vote and try to work on changing them.
So we need to find candidates that are drill focused on ending this oppression.
Oh, I'll find candidates who actually have the heartbeat of their citizens.
All right.
You mentioned change. How do you affect change? How you have the authority and credibility to affect change? You have to own something, have the authority somehow. Physical authority, intellectual authority, some kind to affect change. If you don't have those authority, you cannot affect change. Or you can have the mass, and you have the credibility of your populace who give it that leadership order to affect change. So we have to get, in terms of changing the perception, we have to have some authority, physical ownership, intellectual ownership, to change that.
So how do you get the credibility of the populace?
You have to identify, work within the community. Work within the community to say to your leader who have the interests at heart. Demonstrate by doing tangible stuff that impacts people's quality of life.
So we need leadership.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I vote you two in.
Absolutely. We need leadership.
Seriously. So what would you do? You see the problem, you see the issues, so what plan would you create to say, hey, we need to get these policemen unjustly out of our neighborhoods, or train them to come in there the right way?
I mean, well, first we have to find ways to fairly identify who those officers are. And if those officers are not following...
go straight to the leader?
You can, but...
Let's kill it.
Okay.
Health issues. I'm your host, Chris Sylvain. Hey, I think we had a great conversation. Looking forward to seeing positive results. Fight as hard as you can. Thank you so much.